Spend 3 hours with me in under 2 minutes. First, I got out my candle and make my iced coffee. This is a must. Then I had my cinnamon swirl sourdough with a little bit of fresh apples. Then it was time to get to work. But first, I always sharpen my knives. Then I started marinating some steak with some apple cider vinegar and some steak seasoning. Wrapped that up for a couple hours. I made my bacon. I started my sourdough starter so I can make a loaf later on that evening. I just went ahead, mixed it all together, and put it on the back of my stove so it can get warm and activate a little faster. Then I made my sausage. Ooh, that looks so good. And cracked my 13 eggs, a little bit of water, a little bit of heavy cream with turmeric, garlic, and salt. Mix it on low so that it doesn't get all air bubbly. Into my molds, I put in the bacon and the sausage, and then each cup gets 1/4 of a cup of eggs before that goes into at 350 for 23 minutes. Then I made 2 cups of rice, did 2 cups of rice and 4 cups of water. And then it was time to start making meatballs. I just seasoned them with chili, garlic, onion, and while those were setting, I started making a mix with some more discard, which would later become some tortilla wraps that I would make. So then I mix up my meat, make the meatballs. That was also some onion in that container too with some pepper. And then those guys came out. I removed the meatballs and I made a roux with a little bit of water and flour to make a gravy sauce. I put the balls back in there, got the rice out, put the meatballs up. Oh my gosh, y'all, these voiceovers are tough. And that is what this particular lunch looked like. Then it was time to make my creatine and electrolytes. So good. Those are how the wraps came out. And so for one of them, I also made a steak and pepper mix. So I put the mix on rice for like more of a Greek mix, which I put some tzatziki in. And then the other one, I did salsa with those wraps. A little bit more olive oil, a little bit of chili flakes, and here's what those meals look like. And then they also got a plum later on. And then my next meal, we did rice, and I put all the leftover rice in a container for dinners for the week. My husband loves rice. And this was a tomato-less chili. He's not eating tomatoes right now for his gut health, but he does like chili seasoning. And then I was starting for my sourdough loaf that I would cook the next day. I just did a half loaf. This is only 250 grams of flour. But I went ahead and mixed it up, and this was just, I'm not going to do the stretch and folds, but put my plastic on it and let that sit for 30 minutes. I prepared my iced coffee for myself for the week, and then I ground up 2.5 pounds of ground meat.